hundreds of those payments being the items we're talking about.
Which
That's
frankly
part of the
makes
problem.
missing them easier.
Do what?
Yeah, makes finding
Makes
hard.
missing them easier and finding them harder.
That's what I'm trying to express to you. I'm trying to express to you the risk. I believe the risk is somewhat small.
But right now, all or all local governments are suggested or mandated to publish suggested. Okay. And again, I just want to restate that I personally feel that it's a stakeholder commitment. We don't have anything to hide, so why keep it a secret? And again, I understand there's a risk, but I think the benefit outweighs the risk.
I'd like to make the motion that we consider all matters regarding item G, online posting of the district check register.
Okay, but what do you want to do?
Publish it.
You'd like to make a motion that we publish the check register.
Right.
A second.
Motion by Mr. Fleming that we publish the check register online, second by Ms. Webb. Mr. Hyatt, what?
Suggesting, and it obviously be board prerogative to suggest an amendment, but could we amend that to just make absolutely sure that we're talking about the vendor check register? I don't want to be caught up in a...
Let me restate that. I'd like to make the motion that we consider all matters regarding online posting of the district check register to mean vendor only of the district.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Would you like to second that amendment? All right.
I have a clarification
Yes, ma'am.
in discussion. Why would a child support check be under the vendor?
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be technically for accounting purposes. The only reason why it would be there is because if someone was to request a total check register from the district, which would be everything that they dispersed.
But if we're specifying vendor
Yes.
only,
Right.
that would not be included in that, right?
For purposes of reimbursing an individual, and anything from child support to an overpayment for a lunchroom to a summer school class, if we pay somebody back, we just literally write them a check, and we just call it a vendor. It's not a business that we're buying something from, but that person we write the check back to just is called the vendor, and that they're on the same list, same stack of checks, if you will. But again, relatively infrequent.
Is there any other discussion before we vote? Ms. Klein?
I'm curious about the costs involved in doing this.
If you're comfortable that we don't go through the extreme legal process of scrubbing the data, like Ms. Halsey said, hiring our attorney for days to go through a single check run, if you're comfortable assuming that the risk is small and we just post whatever the raw data is, the cost is relatively small. We're probably talking 3 or 4 hours of staff time.
And is that what the other districts that you've talked to are doing? Okay.
Yeah. I will admit my survey is not comprehensive, but
That's fine. Yeah.
Who are the other districts?
I was afraid you were going to ask that.
City of Dallas.
That are posting them
Yes.
or that are?
A district, school districts that are posting.
School district, I mean, DISD.
There's quite a few.
City of Fort Worth,
Yeah, there are.
Not City of
Denison,
Fort Worth,
Denton.
Fort Worth ISD.
Which ones did you talk to, Mark?
You know, Bonnie and I do remember we actually went to a meeting, actually held at Irving ISD, and the speaker at that meeting was a school district that was participating in the Controller's award-winning deal, and I apologize, I do not remember at that meeting. I just talked with them, and Irving was there, and we talked to them.
Okay. Is there any other discussion prior to
Just
Mr.
another
Coode?
question. Is it possible, Mark, to go through the check register, shall I say, scrubbing it at least one time to at least get a clarification of the different potential type vendor checks that should be considered for scrubbing?
We could actually go get the attorney from the last time we actually did a public information request. We could get a list of the items that we were deleted. Do you think?
We received an opinion letter that itemized all the things in several pages.
We can provide that.
Well, I'm just thinking if we already have some way to identify some of those, then if we can at least flag those for any future potential time. Or is that not?
It's not possible because the
name?
items will it's just going to be a person's name.
Okay.
And what took so long, and again, maybe overkill, but what took so long is any check that was on that vendor run that was an individual's name, we researched to see why we were paying an individual.
Okay.
And
So you did kind of an audit with it as to why you kind of audited it as you went.
on that one
yeah.
time, that's what takes so long. And again, I'm again, mechanically, this is not a problem. We can do this as long as the board is comfortable that I hate to use the term blanket, but it's the general release of the information off the check register you're comfortable with, then that's doable. And that's what most people that do it are doing. I say most, everybody that I'm aware of.
Mr. Hyatt, does the system have the ability to categorize vendors by type?
I don't think so. There's no type flag on there. I mean, we could alpha sort it or something like that, but
Do you
there's
guys use Crystal Reports or anything like that?
Hmm?
Do you guys use something like Crystal Reports or anything like that that generates reports?
The
Is that possible?
the report
to use
writer
in
for the
this?
current system we have is a thing called UltraQuest, and it's Ms. Halsey, you want to try to explain this better than I can?
The new system that we're going to, the Teams program, will use Crystal Reports. The current system we're using, Region 10, helped us develop what's called an UltraQuest report. I guess it's like Mark says, it all pays me the same. It'll take more resources of time and everything, but the reason that we wouldn't know each check run is unique. And there's not just one check run a week. And so you'd have to tell us, do you mean monthly or, some sort of time period. As far as categorizing them, I don't think that that's possible because it's by a name, a check number, a name.
Sure, but if the database can categorize vendors by type, and I don't know what kind of types you might have, whether it's supplies or capital equipment or whatever, if you could identify one of those vendor types as an individual or a non-vendor, as it were, then when you extract the data out, you could exclude those.
Right, but that would not be a guarantee that all of those should have been redacted.
No, it would not be. It would not be. There are no guarantees. Even with the auditor or the attorney spending a week and a half, they could have missed one.
Right.
So, Ms. White.
I just want to make a comment in that, though I do not want to see our staff having to put in so many hours going through checks, I am not in favor of issuing it to our attorneys anymore because our attorneys are already billing us big bucks for all of the open records that people are requesting at this time, and it's we're spending a lot of money on this particular problem right now. So I would, I'm not happy with the fact that our staff would have to do it, but I definitely would not be in favor of our attorneys.
I'm not in favor of our staff doing it on a regular basis for any purpose.
Well, either. Me neither, but I don't want to see it go to I don't want to see us pay
Well,
any more
I don't-
money on our attorneys.
I don't think anyone's suggesting that it run through the attorney's office.
Well, it has so far.
Well, it has for open records requests, that's true.
Right.
But I don't think anybody's suggesting that going forward in order to
As long as
post
the-
online.
As long as the motion is with that in mind.
Do we need to give you?
Is the motion scrubbed or unscrubbed?
I think we need to
I still
reform the
second it, yeah.
motion here in a minute, but do we need to give you guys a
I mean, do we need to do a work study? Is that what we need to do?
No,
No,
Sorry.
No, we don't need a work study,
sorry.
but I did want to ask if they need, yeah, we don't have a work study slot. If we did need to give you time to bring back a more formal recommendation and a more formal adjustment on the recommendation to what that policy looks like.
That would be fine with me. I mean, we could do a pilot month, if you will, and that way we could do a non-scrubbed, this is what it looks like, and this is the time it took, report, and literally let you look at the report and give us further direction whether you want us to scrub it further for risks, or once we tell you how much time and energy it took, if that's within your pain threshold. That might be a trial run at it.
I kind of feel like we've already done that with the lawyers. And I
No,
know
not at all.
but they've scrubbed it. I mean, I kind of feel like we already know the risks, and it's to me it sounds like you want to. It's either going to take a lot of time to go through and scrub it. It's going to take that X amount of time, or we're just going to publish it raw. And that's kind of what I was getting from you. Am I not hearing that correctly?
That's
But you
kind
can't-
of what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, that's just what I want to make sure I'm hearing the right thing, that it's either pretty much raw or we spend a lot of time on it. One of the two. It's not.
Well, you can't really do it raw because you need someone to take a look at just to make sure the data is okay. What I mean by make sure there's no private information,
And you can't do that without going through them
Right,
in
you
a pretty detailed
You're
level.
going to have somebody put some eyes on it. I mean,
How many
the question is how much time? That I don't know.
how many checks on a check run a month?
Really depends, but thousands.
And when does Crystal reports come in, or that new system?
And what does that do for us? What is-
Well, I mean, it could help. I'm thinking it can help
I think
separate
she's
the
thinking
different,
more so for data manipulation,
Yeah.
I think.
to help figure out what goes where and
you still
spot
have
anything
to
that's
look at every
reoccurring.
single
I think
one.
my only concern is just making sure that there's no private information from any employee on that. But,
Like payroll?
yeah, yes.
Well, it's
Well,
not a payroll
wouldn't be
check.
there,
Okay.
period. But I just want, other than that, it should be, I would think, okay. I don't know. I'm just saying it, making that statement that it should be okay. Typically a vendor run, you do a vendor run, and typically it should just have vendor name and other general information. I don't know if they put any type of private information on there regarding, particular.
What I'm hearing is that there are individuals who do receive checks in a vendor run, and their information should be by regulation redacted.
Yes, ma'am.
And if we are saying that we don't want to publish unscrubbed data, then I would prefer to know how long it's going to take our staff to do a review. So I would suggest that we do a 1-month trial period and you tell us what it's going to take. And if we're not talking about scrubbing it, then that's no big deal. But if we want scrubbed, then we need to understand what we're asking the staff to do.
We need to have Mr. Fleming indicate that in his motion.
Well, if we just want a trial run, we just ask them to do a trial run to tell us.
But we still have a motion, correct?
We do still have a motion unless somebody redacts it, or takes it back. Unless somebody takes it back.
Can you?
I won't go with the motion as is. I mean, I think we know what we want to do, whether it passes or not, the motion's there. So let's go with it.
Do you want to clarify your motion regarding scrub versus unscrubbed?
I don't think that a scrub is definition. We don't use in accounting too much. What's your definition of scrub?
Reviewed for confidentiality.
You mean redact?
Reviewed and redact confidential information.
Well, that's just, yeah, that would just be a no-brainer. Yes.
So what happens to the one that's already on the floor that I've seconded?
Well, it's actually been amended once already.
Right.
And so we're trying to figure out if there's another amendment before we
Okay.
start the voting. So is there another amendment here, Richard?
Well,
Or from anyone else?
my motion was to consider all matters regarding online posting of the district check register for vendor only. That was my motion.
I think, okay, consider all matters is the agenda item. I think the motion that you're trying to make is to modify our policy in order to be able to publish the register online.
Modify the policy.
We have a policy, well, okay, modify our procedure to publish vendor checks online.
That sounds like we got a procedure not to do it. And in the way you just stated that,
We have a practice that we do not do it.
that's correct.
So you are looking for a procedure that would allow us to publish vendor checks online.
That is correct.
Okay. And Karen, is that what you seconded?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I do have one question before we vote, and the question is, does that include review and redaction of confidential information?
We are legally obligated to do that, correct?
We are legally
No,
obligated.
we're legally obligated to redact private information.
Then raw, and other districts are doing raw data, or the,
Mhm.
Well, guys, let's,
I saw it.
yeah, we had a standstill, so let's,
So what are you saying, Richard? I'm not clear.
oh, well, my motion is there. Let's make it either it passes, or it don't, Let's,
Okay, but I'm asking for clarification. Does your
That's the only-
motion include review and redaction of confidential information?
review and redaction. It obviously includes review of the data to make sure it's okay to be published, which I would assume that it would be.
Okay, when you say okay to be published, I can extract it, I can look at the report and I see, lo, there is data on the report, the columns line up, the columns have headers, it looks good.
Right?
That is substantially different than looking at each of several thousand checks to see if there's confidential information.
I know. But, I mean, the question is there confidential information on vendor information? I think that's the question.
And
I
what I
think that
keep
would-
hearing is that there is intermittently confidential information in the vendor check runs. Is that correct,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Klein?
I would be more comfortable if I understood the magnitude of the effort and the 1 month's worth of checks.
Okay,
We should have did that before we got here.
we have a motion on the floor. We have seconded motion by Ms. Webb. I'm not yet clear on whether that includes review and redaction. But since that seems to be silent, all those in favor of Mr. Fleming's motion to post the check register from the vendor check run online, all those in favor, raise your hands. That's 2. All those against? All right, then, motion does not carry at this time. Did you get the voting? It was Mr. Fleming, Ms. Webb for, and everyone else against.
30 minutes for that.
Ms. Klein?
Is it appropriate to say that I think this does worthy more discussion to understand the magnitude and what is a vendor?
Well, I think it's
Vendor is
worthy.
somebody that you pay that does something for the district.
I think it's worthy that we run a 1-month trial and see what we're actually talking about in terms of effort. Because if I get the sentiment of the board, we don't want to publish confidential information. So give it a shot for a month and tell us what it takes.
Okay.
Can I just, I'd still like to state that, you know, even though it takes effort, I still truly believe that our stakeholders have asked for this, and this is what they want. And so I think that the return on investment is important, that even if it takes, if this is the way we go, that we decide as a body that we scrub, or whatever the current accurate accounting term would be, that we still go ahead and publish. So the semantics of how we do it and the specifics of how we do it, to me, aren't as important as, obviously I still want to not violate any laws or anything, but it's still, our community stakeholders have asked for this, and this is something I feel that we need to do in order to get them to be, you know, part of our community and our district.
Well, I think everybody agrees that we need to look at it. And if it's economically feasible for us to be able to do that, we certainly need to. I don't think there's anybody who disagrees with that. We just need to make sure that we understand what we're biting off, is what I'm hearing. So,
If I could just add for clarity, then I think you could do this very similar to the purchasing. Just direct administration to bring you back for a further agenda item with some more detailed information regarding what we heard tonight, which was how much time's involved and et cetera, and if we can quantify some kind of cost associated with it.
Okay.
And we'll be glad to do that.
all right.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item 4 is comments from board members regarding posted agenda items.
I'd like to make a comment. It was nice to see the people come out and talk about Kickstart. Education has come a long way since I was in school. Obviously, people are getting educated these days, and as well as getting a little bit more social and self-confidence out of what we do here at Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD. So it was nice to see people come out and support a program that that means so much to them. And I totally understand and I get it. And the other question is whether or not we're going to be able to afford it. But I hope we take another look at it and see what we can come up with.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Fleming.
I was just going to comment on the legislative update. Really, I think we are in really tough times, and our job is to communicate and talk about the challenges we have ahead in the coming months.
Agreed. All right, we'll move on to agenda item 5, which is closed meeting as authorized under the Texas Government Code, including but not limited to Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, Section 551.072, real property, Section 551.074, personnel matters, Section 551.076, security devices, Section 551.082, school children, district employees, disciplinary matters or complaints, Section 551.0821, personally identifiable student information, and Section 551.084, investigations. Item 5A is consultation with attorneys regarding all matters related to pending litigation in District Court Cause Number 309 CV 346, Appellate Court Cause Number 10-10632, Rossi Wade versus Walter Peterson, under Texas, that will be held in closed session under Texas Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with attorney. And item 5B is consultation with attorneys regarding all matters relating to pending litigation, District Court Cause Number 309 CV 346, Appellate Court Cause Number 10-10632. Those numbers are exactly the same. I think there's an error there. Samantha Sanchez versus Carrollton-Farmers Branch Independent School District, to be heard in closed session under Texas Government Code Section 551.071, consultation with attorney. So we will recess now at 10:49, and we will reconvene in 10 minutes in closed session. I think that's a Okay. All right, are we back on, Mark?
I got it from, yes, 325.
We have a mattress.
You know what?
No,
Girlfriend
What's her-
Paris had it too.
no, those don't have in my notes on them. No, I don't.
Ready when you are.
Board members, I'm going to reconvene this meeting of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD Board of Trustees back to order at 11:11 p.m. on the 5th. Are there any actions that need to be considered based on closed meeting? Hearing none, seeing none, by my determination, we've reached the end of our agenda, and we are adjourned at 11:12.